You're listening to the RE Social Podcast with your hosts, Andrew and Vince from OnV Invest. For more information, go to onvinvest.com.
All right. Welcome, everybody, to another podcast episode, RE Social. We have a very special guest. We cannot wait to pick your brain, talk about all the things he just asked us not to talk about. It's going to be explosive. Are you guys excited?
I'm excited. I'm excited.
Go ahead and take the rest of the intro, Vince.
Yeah. Hey, guys. This is Vince. I met Shannon at Jason Hartman's event. And, I thought I was a big guy. I had 6 houses. And
Big
Shannon
boy.
said, yeah, that's not cool. You need to think bigger. So,
I love
and do you want to give a 90-second intro about yourself?
Yeah, thanks, guys. You're right. It was great meeting you at the Jason Hartman event. I was there with a couple of buddies. And, I've been in the construction and development game my whole life. I'm a second-generation builder-developer, fourth-generation realtor. My son is also in the real estate game. We've done everything from police stations, fire stations, city halls, schools, medical facilities, institutions. I've done over $450 million in real estate transactions where I've been either the buyer or the seller. And we currently have about $120 million real estate portfolio where we have 2 apartment complexes that we're under construction on and some industrial that has been doing very well for us. So that's just kind of the overview. This is what happens when you don't go to college and you read that little purple book.
Love the purple book. Game changer. That's awesome. So how big is...
When I read that purple book, I didn't really know why it was different. I didn't really get it because that's the way my parents were, right? I mean, my parents were always doing deals at the dinner table, and I never quite understood why that was such a life-changing book until I got older and I began to understand how most people weren't raised like me, and they didn't come up with that, cash flow is everything. I mean, my parents retired at 50 with cash flow and have been, they've been out of the game for 25 years now.
What a blessing. So you were kind of in the embryo stages already, like getting taught like how the game is actually played, which is, owning assets that cash flow and, making money in your sleep, so to speak. That's amazing, man. We did not have that. We were taught to be, a good little boy, go to school, do your work, and listen to your teacher, and then go get a job, and hopefully you'll one day retire whenever you're too old to travel and enjoy it. What a blessing, man. So where did you grow up? What state?
Well, I was born in California, and when I was 8, my family moved to Idaho, and I've been here ever since. I spent the last 4 years as a tax resident in Puerto Rico.
There we go. So you're in Puerto Rico, what? How many days is out of the year? 6 months in 1 day or whatever that is?
183. I do 185 to 190 just to be safe.
Nice.
So,
nice.
But, it's and I think that hits on another thing. I mean, if you're looking at how to play the game with cash flow and then how to eliminate Uncle Sam from your game, you just upped your profit margin by 30%, right? And if you can pay attention to those 2 things, it doesn't take a home run every single time, but consistently being able to put cash flow deals together and then make sure that you're not paying any more taxes than you absolutely have to. Structure your deals in a way that you can avoid the tax guy, and you're going to wind up in a much better position than most people in very few years and be able to get out of the game.
Love it. There's so much to unpack already. I can tell. I want to get into the tax thing. Actually, I actually have some questions for you, but I want to back up a little bit and maybe have you tell the audience a little bit of just maybe the Cliff Notes version. I know you've probably done this 100 times on different podcasts, but I'd love to hear your story, just kind of like how you pushed through that first fear barrier and got your first deal to where you are now in, 30 seconds or less. I'm just kidding. Take your time. I want to hear the story.
The first deal I ever did, I was building a building for the only $1 store guys in town, and it was building their warehouse. And I got to know the little old lady next door, And I was working for my dad at the time. I was newly married, and the little lady next door had a couple of acres in an old house. And she was, she had a mentally disabled son. They were thinking about what was going to happen in the next 5 to 8 years, looking to maybe move to a home or something. And my crane operator needed a place for his cranes. He needed a place to park, and he'd love an old house that he could park his cranes at and use the old house as the office. And so I was able to get that deal under contract for $500, and it wasn't my last $500. It was my only $500, right? I mean, like if this deal went sideways, I had zero money. I mean, like negative money. And when I put the deal together, then I went to my crane guy and I said, "Hey, I got a deal for you." And, "Oh yeah, where's it at?" "Well, it's right next door." And so the guy, that we wound up doing that deal. But what I learned during that time period was I could be a buyer, I could be a seller, but every time I gave up a deal, I quit making money on it. Every time I built a building for someone, I made a fee, and that was great. But if I could make that my rental yard, and that guy, I mean, that deal was 30 years ago, I could still be getting paid on that. And the land would be worth 4 times what I sold it for if I just knew how to play the game, right? And so out of that deal, I kind of went, okay, you got to do some of this stuff because you've got to make money. You've got to get things to happen. You've got to be able to pay the bills. But I really began to transition to making the deals happen for me. And for me, the way to know that the deal's going to work is through the education, right? I spent a lot of time down at the city talking to them down there. I love the phrase, "I'm new. Can you help me?" Right? And having them help me figure out what was the highest and best use for it. How do you get this many units on there? Making these things happen, getting with the investors. And the more you know, the more comfortable and confident you are. And in that confidence, you're able to really, truly understand and do deals. And deals have to make sense. And you're able to put that together in a fashion where you're now not having to work for someone else, either as a flipper, as a wholesaler, or any of those kinds of things. You're able to put these deals together for yourself.
That's awesome. Wow. So what was like the most recent deal you've done then compared to that first deal?
Currently we've got a 35,000 square foot warehouse in Houston under contract. We were able to take that one down. It's got 4% assumable debt on it. And Vince, this is since I saw you. I found this deal since I saw you, month and a half ago, 4 weeks ago. And we'll be able to buy that deal at a 6 cap. So that's we'll be able to pull 6% cash on cash out for our investors day one. The rents will all get raised 9 to 14% in the next 18 months. So our cash flow will go over 10% within the first year and a half of the deal. And we've got 10-year fixed money on it at 4% that we'll ride for the next at least 5 years, and be able to do that deal and just have great cash flow.
What kind of asset class is that, Shannon?
That's industrial.
Oh, okay.
One of the reasons that industrial is so excellent right now is because in an inflationary market, industrials are triple net deals, right? So the tenant pays all the taxes, they pay the insurance, they pay the lawn care, they pay the sewer and the water. And so when any of that stuff goes up and the city wants to charge you more, or the insurance company has gone through what Houston's gone through in the last couple of years, all of that stuff gets passed on to the tenant, so it doesn't affect your NOI.
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, Drew actually has a music school business, and he teaches. So we are looking into buying something like that, where you get an SBA loan. Maybe 51% is occupied by his company, and then our company can lease it to him.
Yeah,
so very interesting stuff.
Yeah, we just hit our 4-year anniversary, and I would love to ring in the 5th year with owning, either the building it's in currently or owning the next location and doing it that way.
However, if you follow the little purple book, you would have everybody else pay for your space, right? Not the 51% for you, right? And that's the thing that I've always looked at is how do I make everybody else pay for my space, right? So I just finished another project. I've got 20,000 square feet of industrial. The rents were high enough that I have 2,000 square feet in there for myself. That's free, right? And Vince, as we talked about, I mean, I have 4 airplanes that everybody else pays for, right? I have.
Hold on, back up. Yeah. You don't just drop that and move on.
Just a little thing.
But
what's going on with those planes? I'm not even playing.
So it's about the tax game, right? So if you look at the tax code, section 179 of the IRS tax code allows you to depreciate a tool in year one, right? And if you own a flight school or a charter business, then an airplane purchase is a complete tax write-off, right? So let's run some math real quick. August, I just bought another airplane. It was $400,000. So I put $80,000 down. I financed the rest for 20 years. Mm-hmm. I put it into the flight school. The flight school pays me just over $45,000 a year for rent on the aircraft. And I wrote off a $400,000 ticket off of my income. The best part about the section 179 depreciation is it goes against your active income. So it goes against your highest taxed income. So I was able to write off $400,000 at 37%, which means effectively Uncle Sam wrote me a check for $141,000 to go buy an airplane. Wow. That I put $80,000 down on. So I walked out the door the day I bought it with about 50 grand in my pocket, and I get to fly it.
There's a lot to unpack on that.
Yeah. So I'm a super nerd.
Show baby.
You know.
I already know what's about to happen.
We already talked about this stuff. So I know exactly what you're talking about, and it makes sense to me. And I'm like, of course he would do the section 179 and do a bonus depreciation and buy the aircraft at 9 p.m. on December 31st and write all of these things off, right? Now, for a lot of people who listen, a lot of them are like friends, family, investors, partners. They listen, and some on IG, but they're like, bro, like Shannon is multi-millionaire. He's talking about all these things. I'm working at Walmart making $50,000 a year. How is this even relevant to us? So how would one start using these tax codes? Because I know personally, these tax codes are not for the rich. The rich just take use of it, right? So poor people can use this too. So how would you recommend people who are average Americans, $50,000, how would they play this game and win?
So let's look at the car you drive.
Yeah.
Okay. There's this funny little app on your phone called Turo, right? So I was in Scottsdale. I was there in November for my son's 21st birthday, right? Mm-hmm. So we rented a Ferrari, right? Mm-hmm. Now you don't have to have a Ferrari, but you can apply to Section 179 to the tool that is your leasing business that is for vehicles, right? Mm-hmm. So if you have a really clean Hyundai, right, and you want to lease out your Hyundai 2 or 3 or 4 days a month, that would qualify for the Section 179 and allow you to depreciate your Hyundai. So now you have your $20,000 hoopty that you are able to use against your $50,000 income. And that's the way that you can do that on any level, right? I mean, if you really think about it, you can make sure that you can pay zero taxes. That's a game that's easy to learn at $50,000 a year. You don't have to wait till you're making multi-million dollars a year in order to do that.
Yeah, it's what I've learned from the tax code is, they really penalize if you're just a W-2 employer and you don't really create jobs or support the economy other than for your employer, right? So the U.S. tax code really wants to incentivize people who create jobs and do stuff. So when you buy Turo, you rent the car out, you're paying for the mechanic, you're buying gas, you're going to the gas station, you're doing all these things. So they always help you out. So that's what I usually tell people, I always tell people, I have a W-2 job, in Orange County, but Drew has this music school, right? But he gets to write off all these things he wants to, and he tells the IRS, you know what? I think I made $50,000, even though he made $300,000. Me, on the other hand, they already took my money, and they tell me, oh, this is what you made. So it's a completely different game. But Drew has, How many employees do you have?
Just in the music school, it's like 10.
He has 10 employees. So he's supporting 10 families. Those 10 families are getting paid. They're going to the grocery store. They're buying stuff. So for the US, it makes sense to give him a tax break and not me, because I'm not doing anything. I'm just getting a check.
But when you look at Section 179, that Section 179 will apply to your active income out of your W-2 job, right? So if you were to find, what is your dream car, Vince?
I drive.
Porsche. Come on,
Porsche.
Yeah.
So go look at Turo and see what the 911s are running. Right, they're probably running $250 a day. Right.
Yeah.
So if you were to buy a 911, they're 120 grand.
Yeah, he could get them. Yeah.
You're not going to get a 4S for that. You're not going to get a turbo for that, but you could definitely get it done. Then you've got that ability to write that off against your income. And if it spills over, let's just say that you've got a $200,000 car and an $80,000 a year job, that Section 179 doesn't go away. So it'll apply to next year's income, even if you're financing it, right? The IRS doesn't care about financing. They don't look at it and go, well, you have to have, you have to pay cash for it. They don't look at it that way. So, let's say that you love camping. Why can't you go buy an RV, right? Go buy an RV, lease it out on outdoorsy.com, right? Camper vans, you're going to put 5% down and you're going to take the whole thing off your taxes from the IRS.
Yeah.
But what you're looking at doing is finding a way to think through that to make sure that you're not the one paying the bill, right?
Yeah, that's great.
Well, so the interesting thing that Shannon's saying, a lot of you might have missed, even maybe including Drew, is Shannon is starting a business by buying that RV and he's renting it out. That's the key. If you bought the RV and said, I'm going to go on vacation, you ain't getting crap, right? So you have to create that business and create that income, so then you can use it against your other active income. So that's the key.
And so my question, so I understood that part. My question, though, maybe getting a little bit more to in the nuts and bolts, but if let's say I bought say Vince bought a Porsche, right? And he started renting out on Turo. Is there like a 51% has to be rented throughout the year compared to how much he's driving it? Is there a certain metric there?
Well, the reality is, how often is it available, right? Because in the rental car business, it's not about how much you actually rent it out. Let's say Vince wants $2,000 a day. And 17 days a year, he drops the price to $149 because he's running a special. I don't know that doesn't qualify, right? It's not that it has to be used for that. It has to be available for use, right? So that's the reality. So let's just say that in your music school, you have, I know nothing about music, but let's say you got a $10,000 Gibson guitar, right?
Okay.
And that is the guitar you've always wanted. If that guitar was available for students to rent for musical performances, why wouldn't that be a write-off? Right?
Great point.
That's the truth of the matter.
It's like I'm buying a Les Paul.
Right? Or Les Paul, right? So there's all those kinds of things, but the reality is, back to the original goal is to make other people pay for it. So if you look at that same example and you say, man, that Porsche is going to cost me $1,600 a month or $1,800 a month for a payment, right? So that means at $200 a day, I've got to rent it 6 days a month. Now I have a free Porsche. Actually, I have a Porsche that pays me because I got $100,000 off my active income at 37% and put this much down at the dealership. So now I'm making money. And the thing that's beautiful about right now, this time in history, we've got these stupid things. We've got apps on here that we don't have to go form a whole business where we're setting up a website and trying to figure out how to host it and trying to get people to. You go to Turo, or you go to Outdoorsy, or you go to these sites that are already set up for you. So all you have to do is get the asset and put it online, right? Very quickly you're up and running in a $100 LLC that you're buying the asset in, and you're off to the races.
That's great. Now, to play devil's advocate, if in a couple years you've made $0 with said business, what's happening with the IRS? Are they like, hey, that's a hobby, go away?
I don't know. I would make sure that I didn't make $0, right? I would make sure that I had that happen, and I do, right? So I don't worry about that. I fly my planes whenever I want to. I schedule them. But on any given day, we've got 9 or 10 students checked out in the aircraft and flying. So, I'm able to continue to prove that I have an active business because I do want it to not only be free to me, I want it to pay me, and I want it to create a source of income that frees up my time because I'm not the instructor and I'm not the one giving the lessons. I'm not the one that's active in that business.
That's cool. So in maybe this scenario, you could have a fleet of 4 cars, let's just say 4, maybe Porsche level cars, and you could just be doing the same kind of game, huh?
I spoke with a gentleman that we rented the Ferrari from. He had 9. Why stop at 4? I don't know. Let's take it to 9. I asked him why not 11, right?
I want to name this episode "Why Stop at 4," featuring Shannon Robnett.
I'm getting a T-shirt. We're getting T-shirts.
And it's you and a picture of your 4 planes.
Yeah.
But why stop? Literally, why stop there if you can continue? And then it's just a question of which car are you driving today? Well, somebody rented a Ferrari. The Maybach is here. The Rolls is going out in a minute. Somebody's taking the Maserati. So I have one of these to drive. But this guy was making, a couple $100,000 a year renting cars.
Wow.
Yeah. Our buddy Ryan Kreis is going to love this episode. He's super into cars. He's got $1 million of cars. Yeah. He's crazy.
Yeah. Pulls up in the Rolls. Yeah. He's upset if you look at it. Like, I need to park in the driveway or else I'm not coming.
He's like bumping his windshield and like nobody can touch it inside.
Yeah, that might
He's listening. I'm making fun of him so hard right now.
That might not be the guy. You want to be able to let people enjoy it, right?
Yeah, that's what
recognize it as a tool. But when you think about it, if you could make $300,000 a year by having a $1 million car collection, why wouldn't you?
Yeah,
right?
That makes sense. Hey, Shannon, I wanted to go back to something you mentioned earlier. Just wanted to see, you said, for the 51% and the 49% occupied the commercial space, you said, why won't you have somebody else pay for the 51%? How would you do that? You just make enough money from the other side? Is that what it is?
Right. Yeah, okay. I would. So let's take this deal we're doing in Houston, right? Yeah. How big is your music school, Drew?
It's a little less than 2,000 square feet, 10 employees, runs on its own.
Great. So what you're looking at buying is a 3,900 square foot building. Why don't you think bigger? Why don't you think about a 35,000 square foot building that has one space in it for 2,000 square feet, where you can take that 2,000 square feet, but everybody else is paying the bills. Everybody else is paying the lawn care. Everybody else is paying the water bill and the power bill. Yep. So you're in that little space. Instead of going SBA and relying on your credit, go bigger and make everybody else's credit what the bank's loaning on, not your own. Wow. And see, I think that's where I have gone past that because, Vince, when you went out and bought your house, the bank called and said, hey, Vince, we want to see your taxes. We want to see how you're doing this. We want to see this. We want to see this. They don't ask me that, right? Mm-hmm. They ask me, how are the tenants doing? How many tenants do you have? What are they paying? They want to see the appraisal. They want to see who is really paying the bill because they know I'm not, right? So much so that most of my loans are non-recourse because they know that I'm not the guarantor, the tenant is. And so when you open your mind up to that thought process and possibility that you're not the one paying for it and never should be, then you're going to go bigger.
I love that. Do you do like a 70, 80% LTV or do they leverage less?
This particular deal, we're doing a 50% LTV.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But we're doing 4% assumable debt on the other side.
That's really good.
And the other thing is with industrial space, the cap rates are typically 1.5%, 2% higher than multifamily. Mm-hmm. So this thing is at a 6 cap to start with, and we'll have it at a 7.5 cap, 8 cap by the end of the year. So we're able to add value. We're able to get good cash flow. I mean, who doesn't like a 7% cash on cash, 8% cash on cash on a 20% IRR on a 5-year deal, right?
Yeah, and a
Most
4%
people-
assumable.
Well, yeah, most people get a cash flow of 2%, and all of their IRR comes from the cash out at the end, the sale at the end that puts it that we finally made money because the asset went up in value, but it's not because the asset actually threw off cash every single month.
Hey man, sounds like he's making fun of our entire portfolio in California.
That's not what I'm saying.
It literally makes 2% cash on cash, and we are on appreciation. Literally,
Yeah.
it's crazy. Yeah, you're right, 100%.
Yep.
And the thing is, 2 years ago, that made a lot of sense. Right now, cash flow is what everybody's looking at, right? Cash flow, all of a sudden, when things tighten up, that's where everybody focuses it at.
Yep.
This is the cash flow. This is what we can do with it. This is how many loaves of bread we can buy, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the reality is, in order to get to where
Have you thought about investing in real estate and taking advantage of all of those benefits without any of the work? That is something that OnV Invest not only provides, but has been providing since its inception. With friends and family, we have built an empire and a system of a wealth generating tool that is giving us and our friends and family that leverage in their life to create true wealth. Go to onvinvest.com for more to see if you qualify. And thanks for listening.
But the reality is, in order to get to where you're going to go, you need to get to a place that is going to pay you whether you go to work or not. And appreciation, that just sends you a Hallmark card twice a year.
Yeah,
Yep.
so I want to break down something, and then I want your take on it, Shannon. So when Drew and I started, we both have good income jobs. So we make like 250, 300 together a year, but we live in California, so we're on food stamps, right? So and then so we decided to buy properties for mostly appreciation, but of course it cash flows enough that we're not, our it's not a net loss every month, right? But our whole play is based on appreciation. However, over the years, we've kind of now we have a lot of property, so we want more cash flow. So a lot of people ask us, hey, how should we buy? Should we buy the property based on cash flow, on appreciation? So I usually tell them, never buy property that doesn't cash flow positive, because what if you lose your job? Now it's 2008 for you. But never. I don't want to buy in a place where it'll never appreciate, because you don't get wealthy off just cash flow. Because what are you going to raise 5% a year and expect in 10 years this doesn't make sense. So what is your take on this?
Well, the reality is, there are markets like Houston, like Dallas, like North Carolina, like Florida, that you can get a blend of both, right?
Yes.
And over the last 2 years, guys, we had that anomaly where interest rates were so insanely low that appreciation was really easy to get. Now that interest rates are up at 7%, you should be getting a 7% cash on cash, because every dollar that you put in for equity should be at least returning what the bank debt is, right?
Yeah.
So if you're doing a 7%, 8% cash on cash, which is normal, that's normal. That's the world I've lived in since 2001, right? So you're getting a cash on cash from day one. You really should be at least matching or exceeding the bank note by 1 or 2% day one, because you're using the bank's leverage to offset the equity that you were to put in. So when you're doing that, I agree with you that it absolutely should be, if you had to pick one of the two, you have to have cash flow. Appreciation's nice, but you cannot plan on that unless you've got a large enough portfolio that you could go after that asset and save that asset should the market turn on you. Should you have a 2-month vacancy, would you be able to carry that, and would you be able to move forward with that? Yes. So cash flow has to be there. And I think that people underestimate the value of cash flow and what cash flow does. I mean, money doesn't solve all your problems, but it sure doesn't cause too many.
Yep.
I like to say, money solves all of your money problems.
Right.
And that's most problems for most people.
I just made a post the other day. Well, about a month ago, but now it's like, it's like, get your money right. Like everyone wants to pretend like, it's fine. You can just be broke and be happy. Yeah, sure. But what happens all of a sudden if someone falls ill? Money doesn't solve all your problems, but it is severely closely connected to all of these things that can support your happiness, and by giving you freedom. That's my whole why, and why I work so hard. I want freedom to just go wherever, whenever. I don't have any, and I can do that now, which is amazing. But it's also, on, not to get too dark, but God forbid something happens. You get whacked with a massive hospital bill, and it's not a problem. It's like, you know what? I've worked diligently. I've bought assets. I've been smart. We've got this. And it helps you to sail through things that may have caused a lot more turbulence.
And it definitely affords you options, and it affords you freedom, and it doesn't tie you down. I mean, let's just go through that scenario of, you've got some sort of massive hospital bill. Not only that, now you're out of work, so it's going to get worse, right? If you have the freedom that one of those two scenarios doesn't matter, and that bill's going to get paid even if you're not working, then you put yourself in a position to really benefit and profit from your hard work. But so many people, they put themselves in a position where they make really good money today. They spend really good money today. Mm-hmm. They've got that new Fendi, shirt or whatever. They're rolling around in that Rolls Royce. We're
talking about Ryan again.
Yeah, well, just a guess there. But but they don't have cash flow. Whereas if you're running around in a Toyota Camry, living in a 3-bedroom, 2-bath in Modesto, California, but nobody has any claim on your time but you're in a much better position, right? Mm-hmm. Because you can take the time to go be with a sick family member, or you can take the time to go do missionary work, or you can take the time to go do whatever you want. And the reality is, guys, I don't know if you know this, but we're all going to die. And you don't know how much more time you have. Sorry, I didn't mean to
speak for yourself, Shannon.
Exactly. But if you have control of the time between here and that date, then you truly have, you truly are wealthy. If you have that kind of control.
Yeah, that I love that word, control, of your time, of your life. And, that's something I'm grateful for, is that I don't wake up to an alarm, unless I've got, the occasional dentist appointment or something. Right. But I truly am grateful for that I just kind of roll out of bed around 8 or 9 naturally, or if I decide to sleep in, I sleep in. And you can't book a meeting with me until 12 p.m. So I do my meditation, my workout, whatever. I do me, and then the day begins, and that's so crucial to my focus level and to my thinking, and to even, having time to read and study, and I'm sure we're definitely like plowing right through so many things that we're taking for granted, because we know, like, it's all about building a team, building systems, building a business. There's a lot more that goes into it than just like, to start a business. There's a lot, but
the reality is, when a lot of times people don't understand that if you don't start, you won't get to this level. And a lot of people are so busy getting their brains beat in by life that you've got to be here, and you've got to be, your work starts at 8 and your traffic is 2 hours. You got to do this, you got to do this, that they've lost the ability to even try and understand what would freedom look like. What would it feel like? And we talked about this a little bit before. I think you hit record, is just that, you go to school, you become this drone that never knew what freedom was like. You never even thought about what it would be like to live life on your terms. And how many people do we watch? I mean, just go to the grocery store and stand by the front door and just watch how many people come walking in on absolute autopilot. They have zero control of their life. They're literally going wherever the demand is the highest, and none of it is up to them. And to build the life that you've built, to build the life that you want, takes effort, and it takes ingenuity, and it takes thought process, and it takes planning. But I think you guys can agree with me. It's sure worth it.
Oh yeah. I mean, we're not like anywhere near your level, but we're at least at a level where we're set. We're doing very well.
Reality is, I want you guys to think about this though.
Mm-hmm.
If you're at a level that you can dictate where you go and what you do, you're in the top 1%.
Wow.
Literally of the world.
Wow.
Because
Right.
even people that are making, I know people that are making $1.5 million a year that don't have a day off. They don't have that control. They are on that hamster wheel.
Yeah.
And they do nice, very nice 2-week vacations to Paris and Costa Rica and all this stuff, but they cannot get off the hamster wheel because their lifestyle predicates that they are what is producing the cash flow, not back to what we've been talking about this whole time of making somebody else produce that cash flow.
Yeah.
So that your time is yours to determine what you want to do with it while somebody else makes your money.
That's great, man. Wow.
Or something else in the form of a building or an airplane or a car, right?
And I'd like to even back up for the audience real quick and highlight what Shannon's really saying. What we're saying in this conversation is it really is about value. So if you want that freedom, if you want to make money, if you want whatever, you need to think about value. How can I provide more value? So in, say, starting the airplane business or the Turo business, you're providing value, providing jobs, you're providing work for mechanics, transportation needs. You're becoming of service. And that if you set up the systems well enough and the teams you hire well enough, you can get that on autopilot. And now it's the best of both worlds. It's paying you, it's giving you tax breaks, you're giving jobs to people, and you're pushing into the economy in a positive way. It's just so many wins, but it does take a lot of work to get there.
Well, the other thing too, when you think about the way that we do it, the way that I do it, if you look at what you're making, you could make 30% less if you didn't pay taxes. Right? So if you structure properly, you could probably walk away today, Vince, and never think back about your W-2, because what you need is really 30% less than what your current job is providing after all the taxes, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you're paying the unemployment tax and you're paying the income tax and then you're paying the gas tax and all this other stuff, that if you're able to do this in a very efficient way, you're not paying any of the tax bills either. So now you've got 40% more money to spend.
Yeah, that's true. I know we only have you for a few more minutes, Shannon. So I wanted to touch on some high level things like, so we were at the Jason Hartman event. Are you coming to the Limitless one with Kenny?
Yep. Yeah, I just booked everything.
Okay, cool. Me too. So I'll see you there. I'm trying to get Kenny on here, man. I mean, hitting up Michelle. So we'll see. But so I had my last episode was actually Tall Yarber was my last episode.
Yeah.
So he runs Limitless. So I wanted to touch on this to see, why should you spend time and money to go fly and be with these guys and spend a little bit extra to get the VIP and all that stuff? So, well, what would you say to people? Because people are like, dude, I don't want to go to these conferences and spend $2,000. That's a scam, What would you say?
Yeah. It's funny. The people that say that don't have $2,000.
Yeah.
And they don't have a plan to ever get $2,000. And I'm not hacking on them for not having the $2,000, right?
Yeah.
But when you talk with anybody that is a high level producer like yourself, why do I keep going? I was just with Kenny 2 weeks ago in Atlanta, Georgia, right? Or no, not Atlanta, but we were in
Athens.
Oh, you were in Florida for the oh yeah, I know what you're talking about. You're talking about the collective, right?
Yeah. So I pay extra to be around these guys because the caliber of people that they attract, I've created friendships in there that are worth, there's no way to measure them. But the reason I'm going to Kenny's event is because I haven't heard everything. But there's also things that I need to hear again and again and again. And I need to make sure that I'm in proximity to the right people to make sure that I'm doing the things that, look, why does Tiger Woods have a coach? Why does Kobe Bryant, why did Kobe Bryant have a coach? Why do they continue to practice?
Oftentimes multiple coaches too.
Exactly. So why do we think that in business, we're not going to have a coach? Why do we think, here's the deal. I look at my time in the collective as the opportunity to be able to pick up the phone and run a deal by Kenny McElroy. I cannot think of a guy that is more solid in this business than Ken. And if Ken goes, dude, that's a great deal, that's a trash deal, I'm not going to look at it again. It's either going to go in we got to do this pile, or it's going out the door and it's the last time I think about it, right? But the reality is, if you're not going to these events and you're not putting yourself around people like Vince, like Drew, like myself, like Ken, you're not going to get to the level that you need to get to. They say that you're the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with.
Very true.
And if you're the smartest guy in the room, you're hanging out in the wrong bar. You're hanging out in a bar, right?
Love it.
I mean, you really need to be in a room where you're the little guy.
Yep.
Because that's what's going to show you the next level, the next rung of the ladder. You're going to learn that from your friends. You're going to learn that from your colleagues. And you're either going to be going up the ladder, or you're going to be going down the ladder. And so if you're going to sit there and say, I'm not spending $2,000 on X, but I walk into your house and you got a 65-inch TV and an Xbox, I know who your God is.
Damn it, man. I have that 85-inch TV and the Xbox.
He's crashing us so hard today.
There you go.
It's almost like he's been here.
If we saw our houses, he'd be like, yeah, okay, I got it.
Right?
Wow.
But those are the kind of things that you look at. And if you can't afford to do that, then you're not ever going to level up.
Yeah. Wow. You got, I mean, there's so many good little like sound bites right there.
Like, you know, to follow up on what Shannon's saying, you know, like even this conversation, you know, we talked in Jason Hartman's event, and it was a great time. But even in this, you know, I was really trying to get, you know, a place for Drew to do the music lessons, but I was thinking of the 51%, right? And what did you say? Why are you getting the 4,000 square feet? Why can't you get 40,000? I would have never thought of that.
Right.
Already, it's worth like whole ticket price. I went to Jason Hartman, like it's already done.
And so, but if you think about that, you know, now you're going to not only have that ownership ability, but think about the appreciation, right?
Yeah.
Your 4,000 square foot building is going to appreciate the same as a 40,000 square foot building percentage wise.
Yeah.
But dollar wise, it's extremely different, right?
It's all the same paperwork to get into the loan, I'm sure, too.
Exactly. In fact, it's probably going to be easier because, Drew, you're not the source of repayment.
Right. Wow.
So they're not doing a proctological exam on you.
Right.
They're looking at
Blood
everybody
type.
else.
How do you raise? How do you have thought leadership platform? I've listened to your podcast. I just saw you had Ziana on there, the midterm rental goal. So we just released today. Actually, Sarah Weaver's episode just went out, which they wrote the book together. Right.
Nice.
So I love your podcast. So I know you do some of that stuff. So what else do you do to create awareness and then, you know, make it easy for yourself to raise capital for your deals?
You know, I started out, I tried to use the ski mask and a handgun. I just could never get enough capital in between my 30 years in prison. No, you know, the thing that I look at is I look at the experience model, right? I have the fortunate experience to have 29 years running businesses, right, of my own in the industry. And so I like to be able to put out a lot of education and a lot of coaching or things like that where we can sit down and we can say, okay, look, how do you want to structure your deal? Let me show you how you can take this to the next level, because I guarantee you the biggest block that you have in your business is the 6 inches between your ears.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
The biggest block you have is your imposter syndrome that says you can't do it. And when you hang out with people that have done it, they're going to ask you questions like I just did.
Yep.
Why won't you? Right?
Why not think bigger? Yeah,
exactly. And so really what I've done is I've been able to put myself in situations where I'm able to be of value to other people. And out of that, I've gotten what I'm looking for. Right. So, I mean, I work with quite a few real estate advisors who they have clients that are looking for tax benefits. They're looking for, cash flow. I deal with a lot of doctors and lawyers who are dealing with massive tax problems because they have businesses that they own, or they're making $600,000 a year, and they're spending over $250,000 sending that to the tax guy. If I can change that situation for you, you have the ability to get free. And so it's out of that adding value that I find that I wind up with most of my clients in being able to solve their tax problem and saying, hey, let me show you how we can do this and eliminate this. And then you're going to use that money that you are throwing down the toilet at the IRS to make your investments, to make you money. And now you're going to be able to retire in several years with what you were giving the IRS. Now you're just redirecting it your own direction.
Bravo. So many good sound bites. And to reiterate, right there, you just said it again. I've met many people in my life, been very blessed to meet individuals such as yourself and people still waiting tables. And it is 100% of the time, those people who are not achieving their potential, they're not focused on giving value. They're focused on taking value. And Shannon, you and every, high level person who's achieved great things has consistently always said, double down on how you can give value. There's only two ways to make significant income: is to steal it, or is to give massive value. So much value that you couldn't even charge for it. It's just so much.
And what that's created is that's created, stark raving fads, right?
Yeah.
I mean, when we go out on a deal, I mean, it's not hard to raise the money because everybody knows our deals are good. The value's there. We've given it out. We've helped others with their stuff. It's all about creating that go abundance attitude that, hey, you know what? Let's give our way into the next deal because we know that we're going to have great things coming out of it because of how we're positioned in our mental process and in our lives.
And how did you create that audience to show those deals to? Like, where did those guys come from?
A lot of that has just been through my podcast. It's been through, appearances on great podcasts like yours. It's been, being a part of different tribes, the collective, the real estate guys, and being a part of your local community. We have a lot of our investors come from our local community. And then once somebody gets involved with us and they realize how we process things, how we underwrite things, how we bring that, 30 years of experience, so we're not caught up in the next greatest bubble, they're able to see that, hey, you know what? This is something that so-and-so, I mean, I was on the phone yesterday with somebody that brought 3 of their investor friends in that invested more than they did into one of our deals, right? Because they saw the value and the consistent giving, they saw that. And so they're like, your current investors are your biggest source of getting to new investors because they are testimonials, third-party testimonials of your greatness.
Very, very good stuff.
And that goes beyond business. That's just your integrity as a person.
Yeah.
How you do anything is how you do everything. Yeah.
I wanted to just touch on, I know we were talking about people waiting tables. We're not like, shitting on people waiting tables. Drew used to wait tables.
Nothing wrong with that at all.
10 years, right?
No judgment. Yeah. If it makes you happy, do it. Yeah. It's fine.
So, but you have to figure out a way to get out of that, otherwise you're just going to be doing this.
I know a couple people that wait tables now and don't need to. They do it for the social interaction.
Totally.
Yeah, it's kind of fun.
They're also building their own empire, right?
Yeah.
Right.
They've got their exit plan in place.
Yeah.
There's a lot to be said for the horsepower and the consistency to do it. You could do it out of anything.
Yeah. Hey, what do you think of? I know we have to wrap up before we get your contact details. What do you think of the current market environment that's going to be coming out Q2 2023? So, you think it's a good time to get in or, partner with people who know what they're doing?
Well, I think that's going to be the key, right? This is when, everybody's been talking about, well, this is what Warren Buffett says, you find out who's been swimming naked, but it really does come down to experience. When you're working with people that have been in the real estate business for a while, what's coming out in quarter 2, quarter 3, quarter 4 is what I cut my teeth on. I've never seen what we just saw for the last 24 months. So I've never learned to underwrite that way. We've got an apartment complex that we're working on right now that I underwrote to a 5 3/4 cap on our exit. We're going to be fine on a brand new apartment complex when it comes due, because if I can make those numbers work, then I'm sure going to be able to make them work now. And I think what you said, Vince, that the people that you're working with are going to be the biggest deciding factor in the next 12 months. Because if you're working with people that this is familiar landscape to them, you're not going to stumble. If you're working with people that this is all new to them and they've never seen 6.5% interest rates and 7 caps and things like that, then you're going to be having some issues and you're going to be having some structural failures that are going to be hard to hide because of how catastrophically bad it will go. But if you look at it like I'm looking at it, my underwriting is solid. My cash flow is there. This is still some of the best interest rates that I've seen in my career. 6.5% is still a phenomenal interest rate. It's not 3%, but if you've got cash flow and you've got bank leverage and you've got them locked in for the next 10, 15 years, you've got a doable deal. You've got cash flow.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Drew, do you have anything else?
Yeah, I was just kind of curious as to any sources of education, be it mentorship programs, coaching with you, books that you recommend, anything like that, podcasts.
Yeah, I mean, if you go to my website, shannonrobnett.com, I've got a book list there. You could book an appointment with me. I'd love to have a conversation with you. I'm always willing to start the conversations about what your real estate journey is. And then from there, I'm going to give you an assignment. If you do that assignment, you've got the right to call me back and we can continue the conversation. That's about as complicated as my mentorship is, because I believe in giving the information that somebody gave me at some point away to others. So shannonrobnett.com is the best way to find that. And then we can start the conversations. There's lots of great books to read there, and we can see what happens next.
Awesome. Yeah, we'll link that below if you guys are listening on.
Come to a Limitless Expo this year and you can meet Shannon and I.
Give them the dates and the times and all that.
I think what is it, in June, right? June
14th through the 18th of June.
Yeah, in Scottsdale or Phoenix.
Phoenix.
Yeah.
Phoenix.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Thanks, Shannon.
Yeah, thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, thank you.
I don't know about you, but I definitely like to see 5-star reviews on any service or any product before I purchase. Please take a second to leave us a 5-star review, whether you're listening to it on Apple, iTunes, or Spotify, or whatever platform. Take a second, goes a long way, helps us a lot to grow the channel, and thanks for listening.